Easy one. All right, next is people development. People development. One of the things that you'll read in that article I printed off for you is that we as a church have to continue to remind ourselves that we are in the people development business. We are not in the program development business. We could have the most fantastic program in the world, and if nobody shows up, guess what? We didn't get anything done. But if we are developing people, people are what are eternal. People are the ones that are going to last forever. And so we want to make sure that we constantly remember that as we run programs and as we organize ministries and as we do things to manage and organize well, that we are developing people along the way. So we look at developing the workers and self. Again, we're still in the process of growth. But now I have a group of people, the workers in my team, that I have a responsibility to invest in them and help them develop to be the best worker that they can be. Again, that theology of equipping that we talked about. You have a role in that. People development is how we build the next generation. We're not just talking about handling everything right now. In people development, we're thinking 5 and 10 years down the road of we'll begin to develop this person now so that they are an even greater resource in the future. So number 1, pass on your learned skills. And this is a difficult thing because sometimes we've been doing stuff for so long, we forget that at some point we had to learn how to do it. Every now and then there are things where I look and I go, what do you mean they don't know how to? And I think and I go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, actually somebody taught me how to do that once upon a time. We just do it for so long we forget. That's a skill that needs to be passed on to somebody else. So make sure that you are passing on your learned skills. That's not just a practical thing. We are called to do that in Scripture. Number 2, develop workers by teaching them the worker portion of the leadership pipeline information. So as they come in 15 minutes late, some 3 or 4 weeks in a row, then you can sit down and pull out your worker booklet and go, hey, now, look, right now, you are to focus on leading self. And that means being a faithful steward of yourself, being in the right place at the right time. God's called. This is a spirit. This is important that you get to the right place at the right. So you are helping develop that worker by training them and teaching them in that leadership pipeline information for their role and their responsibility. Number 3, develop workers by giving them information and experiences in ministry. If your people walk into the same room at the same time and work with the same people doing the same thing every week, week after week, they may get really good at doing that one specific thing. But if you don't ever break them out of that one room with that same group of people doing the same task week after week, there's not going to be a whole lot of growth and development for potentially future or more ministry. And so you need to plan in and intentionally give them other experiences and opportunities. Whether that's a training activity or a training conference that you go to, whether that is a pamphlet to read or a training video that you find online, that could be all the way up to some things like doing cross-training, where you take the quest leaders and you put them in a room and you go, okay, I know we always train the teachers on teaching and the game leaders on game leading and small group people on small group leading, but we're going to train everybody on all of them. And then you all of a sudden have a game leader going, oh man, that small group thing, that sounds pretty cool. I didn't know y'all did that. That sounds really neat. Well, can I sit in on that one week? They didn't know anything about it until you did a cross-training or do a room swap. This really messes with people. Take the Noblets and Miss Sharon during Sunday school and just flip-flop rooms. And be like, hey, I'm your teacher for today. And the kids will be going, no, you're next door. You didn't know. That's not. Well, why? That can expand Miss Sharon's excitement about that other ministry. She may go back to her class and be like, thank you, Jesus, that this is my class. But it expands the kids a little bit. It gives her a new experience. It may make her a better teacher in her class when she goes back. But intentionally developing workers by giving them information and experiences in ministry, things to help them develop their skill set. It may be a skill set they don't even know they have till you start hitting on it. All right, so how do we make this happen? What are the growth things we're looking for here? Number one, recruit and personally oversee a process for new workers. Recruit and personally oversee a process for new workers. Now, if you are bringing people into a role of committed ministry, and it is an ongoing ministry. Now, not everything qualifies as that. But if you're bringing somebody into an ongoing ministry, and they're going to be committed to being there every week, there's a pretty standard process that we ask people to go through. Now, this is where there's some established structure, and if you want actual names, I don't know if we'll give names, we'll probably not. If you want anonymous stories of people that just in the last 6 months have completely blown out of the water, I want to work in that ministry, and we have them go through this process, and 2 weeks in, you can't even find them anymore. Pastor Jim and I can give you those examples. So this structure is in place to protect you as a director and the ministry while giving somebody a gradual way of working into being a worker. It's a 3-week check it out. You just want them to come for 3 weeks and actually watch what happens, because I've had people like, yeah, I want to work with teenagers, and they come back to the youth room and they go, I don't want to work with teenagers. They just didn't know what was going on, and when they see it, they're like, I don't know what I thought you did, but that isn't it. You just want them to come see what you're actually doing for 3 weeks. That way they know if that's what they're interested in or not. Then after that, they turn in their worker application. They say, yes, I actually want to do this, and they meet with you as the director or the leader of your ministry, just so that you can go over the application and make sure they don't have any questions, see if they have any questions for you. This is an excellent way to get them oriented to talking with you and communicating with you on the way in and ongoing as a part of that ministry. And then a 2-month interim. In other words, you say, we want you to make a 2-month commitment. We don't want you to cold turkey make a 1-year commitment. We want you to make a 2-month commitment. You come in and you do your part for 2 months. And at the end of 2 months, we'll sit down, because this gives you an out, as well as them an out. Nobody's feelings are hurt. Everybody kept their commitment. At the end of that 2 months, you sit down with them and you go, okay, you've been in here for 2 months. What do you think? Oh, please let me quit. Or, this is awesome. I love it. Wonderful. Here's something we need to talk about, though. You're 10 minutes late every week. Can't keep doing that if you're going to be on this ministry team. It gives you a simple way, and a non-threatening way. You're not coming to them and going, we're going to fire you. It's just a conversation you have about them coming in and getting involved in the ministry, and that's a conversation you have between the 1-month interim and the 1-year commitment. And then they make that 1-year commitment, and they're in for the full ride. So as we follow that process, it's amazing how many times people, that they come in and they sound, when we talk to them, like they are just committed from here till Jesus comes to be in such and such a ministry. And they don't even make it through the 3-week check it out. And I don't think they're bad people for it. I think it's just good that we have a process for them to work through. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to come in for 3 weeks and then we grade them on how cool they are. That's not it at all. This is for them as much as it is for us. So, recruit and personally oversee the process for bringing new workers in. Number 2, intentionally pass on your learned skills and understanding the workers. We talked about it's something we need to do. You have to be intentional. This doesn't happen by accident. You have to plan a way to do this. If you're a teacher and you're recruiting new teachers, you need to be in the room with them when they're teaching so that you can give them some feedback on their teaching. If you're leading small groups and you're getting the small group leaders, then you need to have them come in and sit with them in small group leading, or have them sit with you. We brought in a new small group. A new small group leader came into youth ministry, and we spent 2 months with him coming in and watching and then doing a little bit, and we'll talk about that process here in a little bit, but gradually bringing him in, passing on some of those things. Number 3, plan regular worker and team meetings. Now, I put regular there because this totally depends on your ministry. For your ministry, this could be, like for Chuck and the greeters, this could be an annual thing. That may be all the training that his greeters need, is to get together once a year and make sure we're all on the same page, make sure everybody's still in, give them the new schedule, show them anything in the dustage. That may be all they need. If they need more, then plan more. Whereas with teachers, there's a lot that goes into that, and so we may choose to have that more regular. So whatever your ministry needs are in the ministry that you are directing, plan those regular worker training and those team meetings. Number 4, help workers fulfill the leadership pipeline requirements. It's amazing how many people would love to do better and they just don't know how. Most of the time, people aren't intentionally not doing as good as they can. They just don't know what to do differently. So sit down with them and talk and go, hey, can I help you with some things that would whatever, and list out what it is that you see in them that they need to develop. At the same time, make sure that you're sharing with them the things that you're excited because you see that they're really good at it. You encourage them to continue to plug away at that and serve in that way and know that God's using them and that kind of thing. Don't make it all a negative, but help workers fulfill those leadership pipeline requirements. And then number 5, plan for each worker a way that you are going to intentionally help them grow and develop. You say, wow, that's a lot of work. Again, this will depend on your ministry. This will depend on your workers. Maybe this is annually Larry gets back around the corner and he doesn't tell his workers he's going to do it, but he watches them from around the corner. And he sees what they do during safety team responsibilities. Or maybe he puts a couple of things in place to check and see if they're doing their work on an ongoing basis. And then he can sit down and talk to them and go, hey, I really appreciate everything you do. Let me give you a couple of things to work on over the next 6 months or so. But that is a plan. There's an intentionality to how we're going to help our workers develop. And if you meet with one of your workers and you go, you know what, guy, you're awesome. I don't have anything for you. That's great. I had a teacher that I was responsible for at Lakeside. And he was trained, and I mean, that was his job, he was a teacher. One of the best teachers I've ever heard anywhere. And I sat in his class and I was like, dude, I got nothing to give you. I don't have anything you need to do better. I had to sit and think of something that I could. It took me 3 days to come up with something. He was just so good at what he did in his ministry. I didn't have anything to tell him, hey, you need to work on. And so I shared that with him. And then I gave him the one thing that finally I thought of. All right, so this is people development. We need to remember that we're not just responsible for a program or a room. We're helping our workers. We are to develop those workers.